Let's add some more lights to our scene. So I want a light that goes along this shelf, and we modeled the shelf so we could put a light behind there earlier. We're also going to add some bulbs to our spotlights and some lights to our oven. So we'll go to the Corona toolbar, create light, and I'll create that in the top view just about where the shelf is. And we actually want this to be a rectangle. And for the width, let's make it 220, so it's a little bit less than the shelf, as I don't want it to create these hot spots on the edge. If it come all the way here, it would be really bright here and less so here. So I've made it so it's kind of about this length, and I just want it like 1 centimeter in height. And let's just line that up. Let's do that in the left view. So I'll pull that up. To here, make sure it's not intersecting the wall, and let's rotate that by about 45 degrees. That looks pretty good. So we've got these IES lights that are producing the lights, but as it stands, it doesn't actually look like the lights are turned on. So to fix that, we can add some bulbs to each of these spotlights. So again, let's create a Corona light, and we'll create that. It's going to be a rectangle because that's what we last used, but we actually want that to be a sphere, and we only want that to be like 0.2, and I'm going to move that into the center of our spotlight. And again, let's move this up into position, and we don't really want it to intersect too much, so just under where the bulb is and behind the glass will be great. And then I'm going to maximize the top view, make sure we've only got light selection on as well, and holding shift, let's drag that across and make sure this is in the right position. We'll make this an instance. Before we do that, this is actually quite important considering we're using light mix. Let's rename our lights. So we'll call this Spotlight 001. And that's just going to help us in the light mix when we had that list of lights. So holding shift, just instance these around. We won't actually see these lights over here, but it's good practice just to put them in if we change the camera angle or something like that. Alright, so we've got our spotlights in, and I also want to add a light to these ovens to show they've just like been turned on. It will add a little bit of life to our scene. So again, let's create a Corona light and make that a rectangle. And let's make that about 40 centimeters. And we'll make it about 3 centimeters high. And we'll position that. We'll use the front view. So that's F and Z to zoom in. Let's pull that up. Put that about here. And again, let's name this one Oven 001. And I'll instance that across. And let's remember to name our shelf light as well. And we'll open the render setup, and let's set up the light mix again. This time we can use instance lights, as I don't see the spotlights being individual. I'm just going to turn them all on. So let's generate and run an interactive render. Let's let that render for a little bit. I'm going to stop that render, go to light mix, and let's start with our shelf. So what we can do there, let's just times that by 5, and we can see what that's doing. I think that's actually going to work great, but feel free to pump it up, pull it down, however you see fit. But that looks quite nice. Yeah, I think 5 will do for now. Spotlights. So now you can see the importance of naming our layers so we can find them easier. Let's just turn these up by 10, and you can see it actually looks like the spotlights are now on, whereas before you couldn't really make them out compared to the ceiling. So let's turn that on. And then the oven lights, let's turn these right up, but I want to change the blue in there, and we also want to turn off the visibility here so we don't actually see the lights in here, kind of like what we did with the IES lights here. I want them to illuminate the oven, but I don't actually want to see them. So let's minimize that. And in the light setup, we can turn off visible directly. And also because it's behind glass, let's turn off visible in refractions. And before we do another render, I'm going to change the material to black from blue. And also we can add a color to this light. And if you're ever changing colors of artificial light, it's really worth using Kelvin temperature, as this is what we use in the real world. If you bring that up, you'll see that goes blue. And if you bring it down, it will go more orange. So I think something like 3500 here will give a nice warm light in that oven. And then let's go to the material editor. Let's make some space. And we're going to need to make sure we can select everything, not just the lights now. We'll grab the material from there. And in here, you can see this blue material. So what I'm going to do is just drag and drop this to replace that as an instance. And that should now make our interior oven black. So let's run an interactive render and see how that's looking. So we've got this shelf light on, we've got the spotlights on, and we have now illuminated our oven as well. So when you're happy with that, which I am, I'm going to stop that. I'm going to push these into the scene, hit OK, and then I'm going to run an interactive render, and I'm going to render that until the noise is gone, and we'll save that out for another work in progress shot.